Now, mind you, it's not just Shelia Jackson Lee doing this. It's the entire Congressional Black Caucus. In the 2019 House hearing of H.R. 40, every member of the Congressional Black Caucus got on the mic and did the exact same thing as Shelia Jackson Lee. And that's downplay, if not outright completely dismiss, the notion of cash payments.
H.R. 40 calls for the establishment of a commission. It does not call for checks. We trivialize reparations by saying that these are just African Americans that want to be paid. I think Mr. Coates goes into details about reparations meaning much more than that.
It's no secret now that black support for the Biden administration as well as the Democratic Party has fallen drastically. This is primarily due to the fact that despite the Democrats controlling the House, the Senate, and the presidency, they have yet to pass one piece of legislation for black Americans, despite the fact that they've done this for all of the groups in this country. And with the midterms rolling around the corner, Democrats understand that they have to do something quickly to at least give the illusion of trying, because they're even losing their most loyal base, the black church, a subgroup within the greater body of black America. About a year into his presidency, Joe Biden's job approval rating is much lower among the U.S. public overall and among most demographic groups than it was in the earlier months of his administration. The changes in Biden's job rating also are evident among several Christian subgroups and religiously unaffiliated Americans. While his rating continues to be low among white Christians, especially white evangelical Protestants, there have been a sizable decline in positive ratings from black Protestants and the religiously unaffiliated, two groups that are among the Democratic Party's most loyal constituencies. Roughly 2/3 of black Protestants, 65%, approve of the job that Biden is doing as president, according to Pew Research survey conducted January 10th to the 17th. That is down sharply from 92% in March of 2021, shortly after he took office. Now, as I discussed in my last video, one of the attempts to woo black voters over came from Jim Clyburn, who introduced a bill that would make what's known as the Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing, a national hymn. Yes, more symbolism. Jim Clyburn wants to give black America some music for their votes. Since this clearly didn't work in bringing over black support for the Democrats, it appears that they're getting ready to go all out and finally bring H.R. 40, the bill to study reparations, to the House floor for a vote. Brothers and sisters, this means absolutely nothing, and I'll tell you why. Outside of the fact that H.R. 40 is a flawed bill, it means nothing to bring this bill to the House floor for a vote when you know it won't pass the Senate. The George Floyd Justice and Policing Act of 2021 bill passed the House and then died at the doorsteps of the Senate. The same thing happened with the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act of 2021. It passed the House and then it died at the doorsteps of the Senate. So what this shows me is that the Democrats have been deliberately holding H.R. 40 hostage in order to weaponize it at a time like this, in order to say to black America, we wanted to give you reparations, but the Republicans, Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, blocked it at the Senate. So that's why you have to keep voting blue no matter who, even though you've been doing that since 1964 and it hasn't made a bit of difference in your community yet. Do you see how wicked these people are? But what's even more wicked is the consistency with which the Congressional Black Caucus makes it a point to undermine reparations by consistently insisting that it's not about money, it's not about a check. Now, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Any conversation surrounding reparations that is void of cash payments is an illegitimate conversation. But if you let Shelia Jackson Lee and the Congressional Black Caucus tell it, financial compensation is not really that important, so we'll get to that later. Now, here's a recent interview from about 9 days ago with Shelia Jackson Lee on CBS News doing just that while discussing the need to bring H.R. 40 to the House for a floor vote.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And your questions are extremely important because it gives me an opportunity to clarify what H.R. 40 is. H.R. 40 is the commission to study slavery that has not been done and to develop reparation proposals. It does not give answers before the commission is set up. And that's why I think it's so very important for the American people to understand that this commission brings about restoration and healing. All those questions will have to be assessed as we go through the study process, the process that will assess why there are such extreme disparities in the African American communities in healthcare, in science, in psychology, in education, in wealth. The wealth gap is enormous between white Americans and African Americans. The questions of any amount or any assessment really is premature. The question has to be, what has the issue of 246 years of slavery done to the African American community?
How is discussing and assessing the amount premature? Discussing and assessing the amount is key, because without that, you don't have reparations. Now, once again, Shelia Jackson Lee is very consistent with that talking point of downplaying and in some cases outright dismissing cash payments. Now, here is her interview with Al Sharpton back in 2019 doing just that, outright dismissing cash payments.
From 1619, when African slaves were first brought here to the United States, 1789, when, as I said earlier, it was institutionalized in the laws of the land, all the way into the 21st century, de jure and de facto. And in particular, we're not focused on payments, we're focused on ending the disparities, asking the question and finding the solutions why 1 million plus incarcerated persons happen to be African Americans, why there are disparities in education, why is there a need to continuously try to stand up our excellent and outstanding historically black colleges? Why wouldn't that be one of the relief that we would look to, where the black colleges, historically black colleges, would never have to look a day at whether or not their doors were going to be closed, and continue to educate the largest number of African Americans, as they have done in the past, through those college doors. And then, of course, healthcare disparities that we have suffered from over the years.
Out of her own mouth, she just told you we're not focused on payments, we're focused on closing disparities. So that's why you have to vote blue no matter who, so that we can pass the Build Back Better bill and the infrastructure bill. And we can't forget about the Green New Deal, because we got to tackle environmental racism, right? Now, mind you, it's not just Shelia Jackson Lee doing this. It's the entire Congressional Black Caucus. In the 2019 House hearing of H.R. 40, every member of the Congressional Black Caucus got on the mic and did the exact same thing as Shelia Jackson Lee. And that's downplay, if not outright completely dismiss, the notion of cash payments.
Reparations and the idea of this commission should be welcomed by all Americans. For we are not asking one American to give one payment.
I believe this is an urgent moment, and this bill, which I am now leading on the Senate side, is the beginning of an important process, not just to examine and study this history that has not been addressed, the silence that persists, but also to find practical ideas to address the enduring injustices in our nation. The characterizations of such an effort that I hear from others is wrong and undermines our collective purpose and common ground. This idea that it's just about writing a check from one American to another falls far short of the importance of this conversation and what I believe we will truly talk about.
H.R. 40 calls for the establishment of a commission. It does not call for checks. We trivialize reparations by saying that these are just African Americans that want to be paid. I think Mr. Coates goes into details about reparations meaning much more than that.
If you've ever wondered why nothing gets done for Black Americans politically, this is why. And also, this is why you see other groups like the Native Americans receiving $31 billion from the federal government, as well as a criminal justice reform bill, while Black Americans receive hip-hop holidays and George Floyd statues. These people in government do not represent you. They only play on your emotions to push the Democratic Party agenda. This is why they've held on to H.R. 40 for as long as they have, waiting on the right time to weaponize it and possibly bring it up for a floor vote just to make sure that they get your vote in the midterm election. Now, the question is, will you give it to them? That is the question. And with all that being said, that does it for today's video. Please make sure you hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. All social media links will be pinned in the comment section below. Please make sure you text tdhiphop to number 33222. That's tdhiphop to number 33222. That way you'll get a direct text notification whenever I release a new video, but it also serves as a protection plan for myself in case YouTube ever gives this channel the axe. I'll be able to send you a direct link to where you can find me next. And last but not least, for those of you who have a love and appreciation for the work that I put in on this channel, the number one way you can show your support is through Patreon. For only $3 a month, that will help put me in position to take TD Hip Hop Media off of YouTube. Remember, the goal is not to grow big on YouTube, but to grow independent of YouTube. And for those who have issues with joining Patreon, you could also hit the join button that's next to the subscribe button, and that way you can become an official channel member for as little as $3 a month as well. And lastly, if you have not already, please make sure you join the emailing list. There is no way that I can go independent of YouTube if I cannot take the audience with me. And the link to that will be pinned in the comment section as well. Thank you for your time, and until the next video, peace.